All right, so the captain is a positive role model, and those around him also serve as such. But how about examples of what not to do? And that's what the Captain America villains offer to us. So, villains in Captain America come in a variety of forms. The first of these include pro-Nazi villains, and perhaps the most notorious of these is Captain America's first arch nemesis, known as the Red Skull. Now, it is important to note that the Red Skull is in the group entitled pro-Nazi villains, but ultimately the Red Skull turns out in the comic books to be American. In the comic books, Red Skull is a Nazi agent who later turns out to be George Maxson, who is an American industrialist who was promised the title of Minister of Industry when the Nazis took over the United States. In the comic books, the Red Skull's crime is so beyond the pale, being an American who actually joins the Nazi regime, that the captain actually allows him to die rather than bringing him to trial or something like that, which would be much more in line with the idea of the American and freedoms, and these are institutions and we're upholding this and all that. This traitor was a captain of industry, but there are other examples of unpatriotic Americans that come from all walks of life and illustrate to the reader how far the fifth column infiltrates into American society. One of these would be the Wax Man, who was a Nazi spy and also the mayor of an American town. The Unholy Legion were a group of beggars and handicapped people who would panhandle and then donate their income to Hitler. The Net Man attempts to catch Captain America in his somewhat unimaginative net and ruin his ability to sell defense bonds. Characters such as these and their unpatriotic actions are disciplined through the events of the comic book, while patriotic actions are inscribed as just and correct, hence instructing Americans as to what is proper patriotic behavior and what is not. Now, somewhat different from these pro-Nazi villains, you also have more traditional criminals who have other flaws that are designated as un-American. While they may not necessarily be pro-Nazi, they are doing wrong things, thus making them bad Americans. So, for example, you have Claude, who is a soldier in the brig with Steve Rogers, who complains endlessly. Given the huge audience in GIs for comic books, especially Captain America comics, the message about how soldiers should behave is not lost. Furthermore, civilian readers also learn how to react when they hear a member of the armed services complaining in the same way that Claude is. Dangerous villains also include a bank executive guilty of evading taxes, who kills those who investigate him, an ex-government printer who was fired for theft and later became a counterfeiter, a lawyer trying to cheat a woman out of her inheritance, and a man married to a wealthy family who begins killing them all to gain their inheritance. These villains and their actions are not explicitly pro-Nazi, but they are given a distinctly un-American flavor because Captain America opposes them. Further, the characters are often portrayed as selfish cowards, linked together by common themes of greed, entitlement, and want something that is either not theirs, like money, for example, or something that they believe legitimately should be theirs, but that has been denied to them by American society, thus upholding American society and its norms and rules. The lessons to be learned from these villains are ultimately conservative ones, in that good Americans are satisfied with their lot in life and are content to try and work their way up within the system and not cheat or use shortcuts. Now I'm going to use the next lecture to take a look at 2 specific examples of these types of villains.